I'm Madeline. I've been crocheting for about 3 or 4 years now, and I absolutely love it. Today I wanted to make a video talking about the basics of crochet, so if you're looking to get into crocheting, I hope you find this video helpful. I'm going to be talking about different yarn types, different hooks, things you'll need to start your first project. So if you are looking for something specific, be sure to check the description. I'm going to put timestamps down below. I do want to give a quick disclaimer. This video is not sponsored by anyone. Any brands that I mention in this video, any yarn, any hooks that I showcase in this video have been bought by me with my own money. So I do just want to put that out there. Any brands that I mention in this video are purely just to give you some guidelines on what I found was helpful when I first started, what you might find helpful for when you're first starting out. Now that that's out of the way, I hope you enjoy this video. So one of the first materials that you need when you first start crocheting is yarn, of course. I have used a lot of different yarn fibers and weights. I have a really huge yarn stash, so I have a really good idea of what I like and what I dislike. And as you continue to crochet, you will also figure out what you like and what you dislike. I think the most important thing is to find yarn that inspires you, find yarn that draws your eye, that makes you want to create something. I think that using a yarn that you really like will make that learning process a lot more enjoyable. If you're just starting out, I would say acrylic is probably going to be your best bet. It's cheap, there's a lot of different colors, there's a lot of different textures and yarn weight, which is like the size of the yarn. Some of the yarns that I have in front of me right now are this Bernat baby blanket yarn. It's usually used for, as the name implies, baby blankets. As you can see, it's pretty thin. I know you guys can't feel it, but I promise this is really soft. Another acrylic that I have in front of me is this Loops and Threads classic acrylic. If you shop at box stores like Michael's, this is going to be the standard acrylic there. This one isn't as thin as the baby blanket yarn. It's a pretty good sized yarn. This one's also decently soft. The other acrylic yarn that I have in front of me is this Lion brand Hometown. This yarn is pretty thick compared to the other two. It's very soft. This I usually use for hats and scarves. I made a scarf with this yarn in a different color. I'm not gonna unroll it, but I made this scarf for one of my friends, so I do really enjoy this yarn. Find a yarn that speaks to you at the store. Acrylic, if you're looking for something cheap, is going to be your best bet. I do want to let you know that if you're looking to make something like a sweater or a cardigan, acrylic isn't going to be the most breathable material. I think it's still a good yarn to pick if you're first starting out and just experimenting, but I do want you to be aware that it is not going to be the most breathable material that you could use for something wearable. If you're looking for something soft for a blanket, you could use something like this chunkier yarn that's acrylic, but I do find that polyester is usually a bit softer. Again, polyester isn't going to be the most breathable, but for something like a blanket where you're trying to keep yourself warm, polyester is always a good option. The polyester yarn that I have in front of me right now is this Juicy Couture, R.I.P. Joann's. I miss you, girl. I got this yarn before Joann's closed down when they were selling their Juicy Couture yarn. But yeah, something pretty chunky like this, really soft, is always going to be good for a blanket. I do think polyester can be a bit more challenging to use for beginners because especially with something this soft, it sheds a lot. But if that's something that you're willing to put up with, I do think this is a good choice, especially if you're making a blanket. It works up really quickly, and again, it's going to be really soft. The longer I crochet, the more I tend to go for a natural fiber or a blend with a natural fiber. I find that it's a lot more breathable than something that's essentially plastic, like acrylic or polyester. So if you do want to go for something that is a more natural blend, something a bit more breathable, I don't have a lot of it. You can tell I really like this yarn. This is Wool Ease, Lion brand Wool Ease. It is, I believe, 80% acrylic but 20% wool, so it's a little bit more breathable. It's still going to keep you nice and warm. I do really like the texture of this. I know some people might find wool to be a little bit itchy, but with this acrylic blend, this is really nice. Yeah, this is going to be probably more comfortable than just 100% wool, but still give you that natural fiber. I made myself some arm warmers with this. It is 100% wool. It's classic wool from Patton's. I wore those arm warmers when I went to New York and it kept me so warm. I went in winter and it kept me really warm. So highly recommend this yarn too if you want to crochet something with a natural fiber and keep yourself warm. Again, wool can be kind of itchy, so just be aware of that. I would recommend going to a store like in person rather than online when you are shopping for your first project, just that way you can feel what the yarn feels like before you buy it. I do just want to show you guys another wool option. There is extra fine merino wool. This is 90% extra fine merino wool, 10% nylon. I hate nylon. I hate how it feels on my hands. It makes me feel itchy, so I don't use it. But when it's blended like this, it's a lot softer. It's a lot nicer. I got this yarn when I went to Montana. I absolutely love this yarn. I'm so excited to use it. But I did just want to put out that there are other options. I think wool has some more chunkier options if you are looking for a natural fiber. My favorite yarn that I've been using recently has been cotton yarn. It's a natural fiber. You can see I'm almost done with this skein too. But this is Loops and Threads Twist Love. I got it from Michael's. It's pretty soft. It's not too thin, not too thick. I'm currently using this to knit a top, so not crochet, but I'm currently using it to knit a top. I've already done the front panel. It's really soft. I really like it. I've also been really loving this 24/7 cotton from Lion Brand. This is not the softest, but definitely still a really nice yarn. I've been using this for a tapestry that I'm working on for my mom. I'm using filet crochet. If you don't know what that is, I would recommend looking it up. It is really fun. I don't recommend it for beginners, but this is just something I've been working on with the 24/7 cotton. I've been really loving it. When you are first starting out, I would recommend using something more like this, where it's not too thin, not too thick. Of course, unless you're working on a blanket, then, you know, something thick like this is probably going to be better. It's going to work up a lot quicker. You're going to finish that project quicker. You won't have too much time to get discouraged. Something like this is probably going to be really good for your first project, especially if you're looking for a natural fiber. 100% cotton yarn, one of my favorites. Again, all of the yarns that I've just showcased are just my preferences, my recommendations. At the end of the day, whatever yarn you find at the store that catches your eye, whatever inspires you to make something, get that yarn, experiment, make whatever you want. It's going to make that learning process much more enjoyable than picking a yarn that you think would be good and then not really enjoying the process as much because you're not liking the yarn. So yarn is really important. I have a lot of yarn and I know what my preferences are. Again, once you continue to crochet, you will find your preferences and what you like to use, what you don't like to use, and what you feel is going to help you achieve what you want to make. So besides yarn, you will also need a crochet hook. As you can see, I have a lot. This isn't even all of them. This has accumulated over the last like 3 or 4 years though, so just keep that in mind. This is the smallest crochet hook that I have. You can barely even see the tip. I don't know where the biggest crochet hook that I have is, but it's definitely bigger than this one. There are 2 different types of crochet hooks. So there is inline. As you can see, this one's a little bit sharper, especially on top. And then there are also tapered crochet hooks, which are more rounded on top. I'm sorry, it's a little hard to see the difference on camera, but there's inline and tapered. When I first started, I got just like a pack of tapered crochet hooks, just that way I had some size options depending on what yarn I got. But I've come to realize that my favorite is in fact inline hooks. I just like using them better. I like that this one has the grip on it too. I also really like the ergonomic ones. This is my 3.5mm hook, and I really like that it has, you know, the ergonomic handle, so that way it's easier to grip. My hand doesn't cramp up as easily. I can crochet for longer periods of time. So if you are getting a thinner hook, I would recommend getting something that at least has a grip on it, just to kind of protect your hands a little bit. You know, this hook also cost me $8, and I've been using it for like most of my projects in the last like 4 months, so it was a good purchase for me. I've also been crocheting for a long time, so I would recommend honestly just getting a pack of metal hooks. You can usually find like a pack of like 4 metal hooks at Michael's, Walmart, wherever, just that way you have some options. I do want to mention too that the yarn that you are using will tell you what crochet hook size you need. I'm going to use my Juicy Couture yarn as an example because it's a really big label. So you'll see on the label, it'll tell you what it's made out of. It'll tell you the brand. It'll tell you what the, I guess, name of the yarn is. So this is their Luxe Velour XL. It'll tell you the yardage. And then it should also tell you, if you are knitting, what size needles you need and what size crochet hook you need. So for this one, this needs a 15mm crochet hook, so I'd be using something like this, which is a 15.75, weird measurement, but I'd use something like this. On top of metal and plastic crochet hooks, there are also wooden crochet hooks. I do not currently have a wooden crochet hook. I do use wooden knitting needles, and that's kind of what has got me into knitting. So, you know, this video isn't about knitting, but it does go to show that the material that you use, like the hook that you use, does matter in terms of you being able to make your project. You know, again, picking a hook is just picking what's most comfortable for you. But the yarn that you get will tell you what size to use. So I would recommend finding yarn that is somewhere around like a 6mm, 5mm. If you're making a blanket, definitely do something that's at least 8mm. But yeah, we'll tell you. So as you can see, this one is 15. My camera will focus. There we go. This one is 15mm. It'll also tell you what the weight of the yarn is. This is a weight 7, and it should give you wash instructions too. So that's how to read your crochet label as well. It'll tell you exactly what you need for your project. Some people do size up or size down with their hook size based on what the yarn says. It really just comes down to personal preference. For your first project, I would recommend going based off of the hook size that it says on the yarn label, just so that way you can kind of get a feel for it. There are a few different ways to hold your hook. It really just depends on what's most comfortable for you. Some people hold it like this. I hold it like this. Some people hold it like this. This is really uncomfortable for me to crochet with. I don't like this, but a lot of people do like this. So again, it really just comes down to personal preference. The most common ways to hold it are this and this. I'm sure you can find another way to hold it if neither of those are comfortable for you. But again, it comes down to personal preference, so just figure out what works best for you in terms of how you hold the hook, what type of hook you would like to use the most. That is all up to you. That is all personal preference. So there are a few extra things that you might need depending on what project you're making. I remember when I first started crocheting, I started off with amigurumi, which is like plushies and that sort of stuff. I don't have any stuffing or eyes with me right now. Those are some materials that you would probably need if you are going to be making a plushie, anything amigurumi. Another thing that you're going to need for sure are scissors. I have 2 sizes. These I usually use for like blanket yarn, and these I use for pretty much everything else. I've literally had these since the 2nd grade, and they work great. They're scissors. They do the job. You will also probably need, for most projects, stitch markers. I have this case of stitch markers right here. They look like this. It is really just to help you keep your place in your project. That'll make more sense once you're actually working on your project. Some people don't even use stitch markers. They use bobby pins, safety pins, paper clips, whatever. Literally, you do not need this. I have this because I need so many. You do not need this for your first project. Literally anything around the house works. Like I said, bobby pin, paper clip, safety pin, whatever. Like anything to hold your place, like that will work. Those are just some other like materials that you might need that I can think of off the top of my head. But again, it really just comes down to what you're working on. So, you know, if you're following a pattern, just make sure you look at the instructions, make sure you look at the material list, make sure you have everything that you might need. It really does just vary based on what project you're doing. I do want to talk more about starting your first project. There are a ton of articles and books and videos talking about best projects for beginners. You can look at that stuff. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to what you want to make. You know, obviously there are some things that are going to be a bit more difficult. They're going to be beginner friendly. I would look for more beginner friendly stuff, but do not have that sort of limit you. Again, you can find a tutorial for pretty much anything. You can find articles filled with a bunch of different like patterns and stuff. You can go to the library, check out books on crochet. You know, you can go to Michael's, buy some books. I would recommend the library though. They usually have better options, and we love to support our local libraries. But they do have a lot of really amazing resources online, physical media. You know, just find a beginner friendly pattern, see what you need on the material list, and just go for it. Just jump in. Alright, that is going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I was able to give some good guidance, some helpful advice. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I really appreciate it, and good luck on your crochet journey. Bye!